What was your approach like transforming into Jimi Hendrix?
The approach was a lot of team members that we kind of, gathered around and said, okay, we definitely need to work on the voice. Uh, need to work on even just the way he walks, way he talks, his movement, mannerisms, the weight, because he was much skinnier than I am. And I had to lose weight to play the part. So it was a combination of physical transformation and reading, just audio, just listening to a lot of his interviews, watching a lot of his interviews, so I could see how he moved when he talked at the same time, and just honestly just putting it all together and hoping I'm getting it. That's what it's about.
You lost 20 pounds for that role. You also learned to play the guitar on the left side. What was that process like?
Yeah, that was probably the hardest part, the voice and the guitar playing, because I fiddle with the guitar right-handed. So to switch to left-handed is completely different. And I like to say that it's almost like imagining walking backwards, because it's just something you're totally not used to. Your motor skills are not used to it. So it's completely challenging everything that you're doing.
What part of Jimmy's life or career do you feel resonated the most to you as Andre 3000 or Andre Benjamin?
Just the human side of, knowing what it's like to be a new artist and, trying to break out, and not even just break out into an industry, but break out of yourself and trying to find, your confidence in it. So I guess that was the thing that I could relate to the most. And also, I think the people around him, his support team, knowing, because I've been there, knowing that, any artist that we love, any artist that we see, I don't care who it is, you can name your favorite artist, they would not be who they are if it wasn't the people around. And it doesn't necessarily have to be famous people. It could be a friend, it can be a parent, it could be, just somebody hanging around the studio. But these are the people that help make the artist, because you're only good as the music you grew up to and your contemporaries. That's basically what you are.
The movie focuses on the 1 year before the show in Monterey. If somebody was to do a movie on Outkast and was to highlight 1 year, what year would it be and why?
That would be a hard one, because it's hard to kind of pinpoint a year of Outkast. It's really hard, because we've gone through different phases. Certain years meant certain things, Certain years were breakout years, certain years were, now we're in the industry, now we're breaking out of the industry that we tried to get into. So it's like, you just have to choose which part of the Outkast story you want to get into.
Not being in a cage is something that, in the Jimi movie, when they were trying to get him to be, are you blues, this or that, he definitely didn't want to have any kind of like barriers or limitations. Is that something that you feel that you also battle?
Yeah, I think everybody in any industry, if someone likes you for a certain thing and you have any inclination to do anything different, you will be pulled back in a certain way, unless it's a product. Like if you're Coca-Cola and people just love this formula of drink, you can make that forever. But when it comes to, presenting art forms that kind of are based on how you feel as a human, it's hard to keep yourself in a certain place. It's kind of wrong to do it, I think. Some people are good at it because they've gotten it down to a formula, but I've never gotten into it. The thing I get out of it is, stretching out and having fun with it. So as long as I can, be shooting for the stars with it and people are along for the ride, that's what I'm in it for.
One of my favorite things, actually, of Outkast is that every album there was a new journey. And sometimes I didn't always get it musically, like switch shifting from one to the other, but it's like I had to listen to it a couple times. And because I respected Outkast so much, I would listen to it until I finally got it. Okay, with Stankonia, they're going this way. With ATL, they're going this way.
Right.
Do you purposely set out to kind of reinvent yourself in between albums, or is that just something that naturally happened? Or?
No, it's not a plan, and I swear it was never a plan. It really boils down to the time in between the albums, like the life you've lived, your influences during that time, turned on to new music, getting bored. All those things make up whatever the next album would have been. And we were in a different time. Like now you have artists that drop 3, 4 mixtapes a year and an album. But you got to think, we were like 2 years between every album. So we were damn like different people. between every album. We were kids when they first met us, so by the time y'all saw us at you know, Stankonia and all those albums, we were just growing into being an adult, really knowing what we were about, or trying to figure out what we were about. So you were just seeing growth, and the music went with it.
You've recently mentioned that you don't want to rap past 40 because you don't want to bring old blood into it. When I look at hip hop, I see Jay-Z 44, Eminem 41, Kanye 37, Pharrell 41. They're still pretty much dominating the game. Do you think there's something about hip hop in specific that you think needs new blood, or is it just something you personally feel?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because even just the origin of the word hip hop, first you have to be hip. And the older you get further away from the hipness. I mean, you can know what's going on, but you know, there's always new slang, there's always new rhythms, new patterns, all that kind of stuff. And once you start trying to imitate that thing, I mean, people see it, man, you know, and it becomes embarrassing at a point. And this is just my personal opinion. Like, I, you know, just feel like I, you know, wouldn't have much to offer, you know, to the game after a certain point. You know, it's like being a boxer. And a lot of people don't like to talk about it because it seems like it's a, you know, kind of like a negative look at it, but it's just life, man. You know, we're all going to die. That's just, you know, we don't like to talk about it, but we are going to die. And I've seen my heroes not be as cool. And it's not that they're not as good as they were when they started. It's just the world progressed. The world actually took them in and learned everything they're doing and spit it back out in a whole new way. So it's like, it's beyond you at this point. As long as you feel it, you know, as long as you want to make albums, if it's in your heart, because I've seen Jay-Z and, you know, I've seen Eminem and Kanye, you know, kill it. As long as it's in your heart and you want to do it, you know, keep doing it. I think there's a difference between surviving and putting out albums and thriving too, you know, and just having the pulse of what's going on. I think there's a huge difference. So you just have to figure out what are you really trying to do. And I got into it, you know, as a youngster, to fuck shit up. You know, that's just the honest to God truth. And as a fan of wanting to see people fuck shit up, I want to see the youth to do it in that way, you know. And I think at a certain point, you know, unless you want to hear about, you know, parenting and how it is with my 16-year-old, and, you know, not wanting to going to get prostate exams, you know, like, I mean, at a certain point, what am I talking about? I'm not on the street at that level, you know. So I just have to find something that I'm honest, you know, what I can do. I mean, like in rock and roll, you have all these rock and roll stars that were killing it back in the day. Now they're doing music for like Broadway shows. So as hip hop artists, we got to figure out, well, what is that thing for us? Because it starts to become inauthentic and embarrassing after a point, you know. That's just my opinion.
I saw you at Lollapalooza with Big Boi, and it actually seemed like you're actually having fun. I don't know if I was just projecting my energy, just being happy to be there.
It's definitely fun.
Has there been a turning point in the tour where you've gone back into it?
Yeah, I think, see, the thing is like when you're going out and doing these kind of anniversary, you know, type tours, which I'm glad we decided to do it, because I think it was a great thing to happen, especially right now with like the 90s resurgence, with kids wanting to know, you know, what was Outkast like, or what was Wu-Tang like, or what was Nas like, and those are my contemporaries. So, you know, we're all out doing these shows now, you know, presenting songs that we wrote when we were like 17, 18 years old. So it feels great that you see these new eyes, these new kids into the music. And also you see these 40-year-old, 36-year-old people jamming to it too. You know, they have their families and 3 kids and minivans and soccer moms and all this kind of stuff, but you remember them, and they remember those songs, and those songs are part of their lives. I'd never be able to take that away, you know. So that was the most fun part about touring, just knowing that we're giving people these songs that, you know, they remember, that were part of their life. Because I'm a fan of music too, and I know how I felt, you know, when I heard, you know, my favorite acts, you know, as a high schooler. When
you perform, you're wearing a full bodysuit. Is that something that you've created and you pick the messages, or is that something that you're working with someone? And what's specific about those messages that you want to get out?
It's really, it started off as one message, and I kind of just continued it from there. They're just kind of thoughts that I'm having, and I have fun with it. That's kind of like one of the most fun things I'm having on the tour. Since day one, you know, I've always, you know, drawn out and designed things that I would wear on stage. Because it was just fun to me, you know. I hadn't had a stylist I always felt like, style comes from you, But yeah, it's fun to me.
That's not gonna be part of the new Bixie line, or that's just something you person did
No,
in person?
no. Well, you'll be able to get the T-shirt versions of the suits in my merchandising company, so you'll be able to see that really soon. Because people have been asking, well, where can I get that shirt? That says "I love big girls," So
I need a couple of those for sure.
Yeah, we got them. We got them.
You won Album of the Year at the Grammys. What was going through your mind when you guys won?
Man, I can't even remember what was going through my mind. It was just so much just pulsating energy. I actually did not expect to win. So, I mean, I think it's a difference if you were like, yeah, we got this. So I think it was a total surprise. So I was kind of just, my mind was just blown,
Lastly, do you have any advice for young artists watching this?
Advice for young artists, yeah, just do, it's really simple. Make the music that you want to hear. Like, I know a lot of people can sit around like, well, I don't like this, or, this kind of music right here, man, this music right here get on my nerves, or, these people are whack, or these people are whack. The complaining really doesn't make the music better. So my thing is figure out what kind of music you want to hear and get to making it. They call me Uncle Stacks at this point, and I'm 39, it's crazy. But, the youngsters, I always feel like, just kill us. Like, we want to hear what y'all's generation have to say. Like, don't try to impress us. Don't try to please anybody that's older than you in that way. Like, push it. To me, I'm excited about the progression of everything. So as long as I know you're being the best you can be, it's progressing the art. As long as I know you being the most honest person you can be, that's it, man. So don't worry about impressing none of us. Like, we don't have the ideas. Y'all got all the new ideas, all of them. And, watch the old people too, because they'll try to keep you around and steal your ideas too. And try to mimic you, yeah. Interviews, watching a lot of his interviews so I could see how he moved when he talked at the same time, and just honestly just putting it all together and hoping I'm getting it, That's what it's about.
You lost 20 pounds for that role. You also learned to play the guitar on the left side. What was that process like?
Yeah, I was probably completely challenging everything that you're doing.
What part of Jimi's life or career do you feel resonated the most to you as Andre 3000 or Andre Benjamin?
Just the human side of, knowing what it's like to be a new artist and, trying to break out, and not even just break out into an industry, but break out. The hardest part, the voice and the guitar playing, because I fiddle with the guitar right-handed. So to switch to left-handed is completely different. And I like to say that it's almost like imagining walking backwards, because it's just something you're totally not used to. Your motor skills are not used to it. So it's...
What was your approach like transforming into Jimi Hendrix?
The approach was a lot of team members that we kind of, gathered around and said, okay, we definitely need to work on the voice. Need to work on even just the way he walks. Way he talks, his movement, mannerisms, the weight, because Jimi he was much skinnier than I am. And I had to lose weight to play the part. So it was a combination of physical transformation and reading, just audio, just listening to a lot of his